Good day. Today we're going to be talking about non-printing characters. Non-printing characters. Non-printing characters are symbols that represent blank spaces. So in order to create a beautiful document, we have to know how to control our blank space or our white space. Okay, blank space and white space are the same thing. Okay, so if we look at this document right here, we see, let me just minimize this a little bit, 1 second. Okay, there we are. Okay, so if we take a look at this document, we see that there's a little bit of space after each paragraph here. Notice that space there. And we can increase the different spaces. Okay, so if I do this or if I do this, okay, so we can increase or decrease the blank space, or in other words, white space. That's what this is known as, white space. Okay, see, it's white and it's a space. Okay, even if it was a different color, it's termed white space. Okay, so I'm going to take away this white space, or in other words, blank space. Same thing. You'll hear me use, blank space or white space interchangeably, but it means the same thing. In web design, we say white space, and actually document creation, you say white space too, but a lot of people also use blank space. So you're probably more familiar with the term blank space, not white space. But nevertheless, today we're going to be talking about controlling our white space. So just now you saw me, I was able to add white space. I can also remove white space. Okay, but we're not talking about adding and removing necessarily today. We're talking more about controlling white space. And the way that we want to control the white space, if I go to the Home tab, if I go to the Paragraph group, and if I look at my buttons in the Paragraph group, I'm going to see this button right here. It's called the Show Hide button. And if we read the description here, it says to shows paragraph marks and other hidden formatting symbols. Shows paragraph marks and other hidden formatting symbols. So if I go ahead and just click on this Show Hide button, we can now see these paragraph marks. And if we zoom in a little bit, we see some other marks here. So we see this little dot here, and then we see the paragraph mark down here. All of these symbols represent blank space. Okay, if I turn off my Show Hide button, you see that those symbols are now hidden. Okay, and those symbols are pretty much what makes using this program about 100 times more powerful than using a typewriter. Those symbols are one of the reasons why the typewriter obviously is obsolete. So nobody uses that anymore, because with the typewriter, clearly it's so much harder to control your white space or your blank space with the typewriter. But with Microsoft Word, if we turn this on, we can control our white space just by removing these symbols or adding these symbols. Okay, so not to be confused, let me just explain, not to be confused with what we were doing before. When I was adding the spacing in the Paragraph group under the Layout tab, that's something different. I was purposely adding and removing white space. In this case, I was purposely adding and removing white space around my paragraphs. And if you look here, that's the group that I'm in. So that's clearly what I was dealing with. I was dealing with a paragraph. Okay, but in this instance, I'm not dealing necessarily with a paragraph. I'm literally I just want to control my white space. I want to see where my white space is, and I want to control it. So these non-printing characters, and let me just zoom out a little bit. These non-printing characters are literally visual aids. They're helping me see where my white space is. They're giving a physical presence to white space, because if you look at this document here and you look at the white space from a human perspective, the white space is nothing. It doesn't exist. We don't even think about it. Okay, it's just a space. It's a blank space. But the computer gives each space a symbol so that we can control that space, if that makes sense. So we control white space in our document by adding or deleting non-printing characters. Okay, so here, let's just say if I didn't want this paragraph to stop here, I would place my cursor in front of the paragraph mark and then press the delete key, and you see that whole blank space went away, and also the next paragraph joins to this paragraph. Let me hit Control Z to bring that back. Okay, so yeah, we control the white space in our document by adding or deleting non-printing characters. Non-printing characters do not print, so they do not print on a sheet of paper. Hence, that's why they are called non-printing characters. All right, these are non-printing characters. They do not print. So if I were to hit Control P, okay, this is how our print would look. Okay, but when I press Escape and come back to this document here, we see our non-printing characters. So non-printing characters do not print on a sheet of paper. They do not print out. Okay, so I can remove non-printing characters the same way I remove regular fonts. All right, by using backspace or delete. Now keep in mind, if I do remove one of these non-printing characters, then you're going to be subsequently adjusting the spacing in your document. All right, now, is that the only way to control space? No, there's a bunch of different ways to add space, remove space, control space, do different things with space. This is just the beginning. This is just, you need to understand this. This is the foundation of controlling your space. All right, so if we take a look at the non-printing characters notes, and you'll get these notes you should get these notes with the assignment, but let's take a look. So a paragraph mark, which is this right here, indicates the end of a paragraph where the user hit a hard return, which is an enter key on the keyboard. Okay, so it indicates the end of a paragraph where the user hit a hard return. Also indicates a blank line of space. Nothing can be typed after a paragraph mark on the same line. There is also one paragraph mark in a document by default. So just hold off on this one. Let's talk about the beginning for a second, because we kind of need to understand a few things here. So number one, it indicates the end of a paragraph. All right, so if we come back to our example here, let's go back to our example here. Okay, so we can see here, this is an indication of the end of this paragraph. This is an indication of the end of this paragraph, and so on. So we see the different indications of the paragraph, And also another thing that we noted was that nothing can be typed after the paragraph mark. So after this paragraph mark, for example, you would notice that there is nothing but white space going all the way to the end of the margin, which is over here, or the end of the line. All right, nothing can be typed after a paragraph mark. You have to go to the next line and start typing. One thing to understand here, here is our one paragraph mark. Let me click right here. If I type "today is beautiful," okay, and I just ended off there, and I'm just going to click away, Microsoft Word considers this a paragraph. All right, so very important that you understand that. Microsoft Word considers this a paragraph just as much as it considers, for example, this one up here a paragraph. All right, so to a human, though, this is not a paragraph. To a human reading this, let me turn this off. Turn off my non-printing characters. So to a human reading this, this is just a sentence. Okay, if I were to print this out and give this to somebody, they probably wouldn't consider this a paragraph. They might just consider it a statement or a sentence. But Microsoft Word considers it a paragraph. And if I go ahead and show my non-printing characters, you see the paragraph mark there. That's another indicator that Microsoft considers all of this a paragraph. So if we're looking at the paragraph marks, just the paragraph marks, we can kind of tell the beginning and endings of each paragraph, no matter how long or short they are. We can tell that the end of this paragraph is coming right here. And we can tell that the beginning is here because there's another ending right here. So if something ends and then I go to the next line and start typing, that means that this is the beginning of something else. All right, so we can tell that this is the beginning because of this ending. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope so. All right, so here we have the beginning of the paragraph. Here we have the ending of the paragraph. Here we have the beginning of the next paragraph. Here we have the ending of this paragraph. Okay, here we have the beginning of this next paragraph, and here we have the ending of this paragraph, and so on. Okay, down here we have the beginning of this paragraph, and then we have the ending of this paragraph. Same thing for each of these paragraphs up here. Same thing up here. You may be wondering, well, is this a paragraph? Yes, Microsoft Word considers this title here a paragraph. Keep that in mind. This is important because when we start using different buttons and different understandings, Microsoft formats or changes the appearance of text based upon these paragraph marks. Okay, so just understand that I know from a human perspective, this looks like the title of something. Okay, oh, we can clearly see it's a title, but because of this paragraph mark, Microsoft considers this one group. Okay, so it's a group grouped together. It's a group of text, and it calls it a paragraph, despite from a human perspective it looking like a title because we made it look like a title. Okay, so a couple of things, words that I want you guys to kind of remember. The word format. Whenever you hear the word format, it means appearance. Let me turn off these non-printing characters. Format means appearance. So when I say so when I say format, let's format this paragraph. It means to change the appearance. It means appearance or to change the appearance. That's what format means. Okay, so we'll continue this in the next video talking about non-printing characters.